Is Harmeet Dhillon really trying to sabotage Donald Trump's bid for the Republican nomination? That's what Loomer and Roger Stone would have you believe. And in case you don't recall, Harmeet Dhillon is the lawyer that is representing Tucker Carlson in his battle with Fox. She's also the person that ran for RNC chairman against Ronna McDaniel, and she is currently California's national committee woman. She is one of the 3 representatives that California has at the RNC. So here's what the TUS is all about. I'm going to take you back to 2016 and 2020 for a second. California has had a very late primary date. It's been in June. And that matters because RNC rules allow states that go later in the process to be winner take all. You only win by 1 vote, a plurality, whatever, and you get all the states' delegates. And Donald Trump did very well in winner take all states in 2016. So this would seemingly benefit him. But here's what happened. The Democratic governor of California, Gavin Newsom, and the Democratic legislature moved up the primary to Super Tuesday, which is in March. Now, obviously, they did it to benefit themselves. They didn't ask the Republicans what they wanted to do or whether they cared. But this is where the rub comes in. The RNC's rules matter here. And Rule 16C states that any presidential primary, caucus, convention, or other process to elect, select, allocate, or bind delegates to the national convention that occurs prior to March 15th in the year in which the national convention is held shall provide for the allocation of delegates on a proportional basis. Bingo. So when the governor and the legislature did this, it would seemingly have had the effect of making California have to change the way it allocates its Republican delegates to some form of proportional. And that caught the ire of people like Laura Loomer and Roger Stone, who blamed Harmeet and California's other 2 RNC members, Sean Steele, who's the National Committee man, and Jessica Patterson, who is California's Republican Party chair. Now, all 3 of those folks wanted people in California to know what they were doing and why. They sent out an update, and I want to read part of it to you here. It says, if we didn't make this switch and before an October 1st deadline, we would be in jeopardy of losing 50% of our delegates. As it stands today, California Republicans have more delegates than any state in the nation. And to not comply with RNC rules would have not only taken that distinction away from us, but also would have greatly mitigated our role in determining our party's nominee. It would also have lessened the number of delegates that could ultimately go to any presidential candidate seeking the nomination in California. This was the same process we followed before the 2020 primary to abide by the RNC rules. However, it is important to note the rules we had in 2020 had a sunset clause that only allowed us to use those rules for the 2020 presidential primary election. In compliance with the California Republican Party rules, this bylaw amendment will go next before the California Republican Party Rules Committee, followed by our executive committee later this month. We look forward to more discussion on this important adjustment as the process progresses. So that's what the rub is all about. People upset that California has changed the way it's allocating delegates from a winner-take-all, which benefited Donald Trump in 2016, to a proportional system that he might not do as well. But remember, this is the Democrats moving the primary and then the state having to comply with the rules. So after some back and forth online, Harmeet sent out her own email that made 2 very important updates. Now, she did this noting that this was just her personal opinion. She noted that while this was initially going to get pushed through the California Executive Committee, she believes it can be addressed at California's Republican Convention, which wraps up on October 1st. And if you did it then, it would still technically comply with the RNC's deadline, which is October 1st. Doing it this way, she says, would ensure that more people could address and have input in the way that California moves forward in compliance with the rules. And to boot, it's obviously a lot more transparent than having 2 smaller committees do it, probably on a Saturday morning somewhere in Sacramento. And second, she stated that her preferred way of complying with the rules would be to follow a model that many other states, including Texas, are doing and that are in the same situation. That would be having an initial threshold of 20% in each congressional district where the delegates would be awarded from. Meaning, if you don't get 20% of the vote, you get nothing. You get 19% of the vote, no delegates. 20%, then you're eligible for a proportion of them. This obviously would benefit Trump because it would mean that no one who is at least posing a serious threat to them could even accumulate delegates. And at the end of the day, delegates are what matters. Delegates are gold because that's what determines the nominee. The second element that Harmeet put forward would be a 50% threshold, whereby if a candidate gets 50% of the vote statewide, they'd get all the delegates, all of them, the at-large ones, the congressional ones. This system, she says, is in compliance with the proportional rules of the RNC and that other states are doing it. Therefore, it checks kind of both boxes. Just to be clear, though, remember, this is the Democrats that made California make these changes. No Republican was involved or tried to tank Trump or anyone else for that matter. Failure to comply, as that letter stated, would have cut their delegates in half. And so if you're a candidate, that's a big deal. That means half of the delegates out of California are at stake. It's a much less attractive prize, right? So you're going to undermine the influence of California and whoever ultimately wins it. Obviously, right now, I think these changes that California is putting forward that Harmeet is suggesting would benefit Trump. He's the only one with that lead, and the earlier in the process he goes, the better. Remember, on the Democratic side, they face their own problems. They're trying to move the dates for New Hampshire and Georgia, states that Republicans control and have zero interest in helping the Democrats fix their calendar problem. But this is all a huge, big reminder. Understanding the rules of the game is the only way we will ever make change. Well, if you enjoyed this video, click the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell to make sure that you never miss another video.